And welcome back, real fans. Welcome back to my channel. This is Steve here, and this is another low budget production down here in the Florida Great Layout. Today, we're going to take a look at my Duluth Mesabi in Ironton, better known as the Yellowstone. This was a train show find, not from the last train show, but this is back in December, one of the last train shows of the year. I bought a couple of cars, so I know you remember. Showed them in the previous video, the MTH postage stamp cars, the Golf Tanker, Lionel, Hood's Dairy. You remember, you probably seen that video. If not, you can always go back and check it out. They're great cars. Mother and daughter were selling off her husband, who is now deceased, selling off his train collection at the train show. And I got to thank my buddy Rick for giving me an introduction to these ladies. And I bought some of the cars from them. Like I said, she gave me a great deal. End of the show, I ended up buying this fantastic train. We're going to go through it here today. We're going to go through it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You kind of see it there on the floor behind me. There's the old Ironton. But we're going to take a look at it right here, right now. Join me, Miss Steve's Trains. And here's the original box. This is an MTH Premier Line Yellowstone. Some of the 3 rail features. Item number 20-3030-1. Now, this has the original Proto sound. Came out in 2010, 2011. I'd have to double check that. Not that it matters. But what I wanted to point out was this baby weighs almost 18 pounds. And it is for an 072 track. So nothing less will do. Constant voltage headlight, die-cast tender chassis. I mean, it's heavy. This baby's solid. There's not much of any plastic on there other than maybe the bell. She's a beaut. So without further ado, when I looked up this engine, Brady's Trains originally sold it. They had it listed for $1,900. They sold it for $1,450 with the 12 ore cars included. That was back in, like I said, about 2011. The young lady was trying to sell it for $700. She sold it all to me well under the asking price. She gave me a heck of a deal. I never asked her. She just said, "Here, this is how much I want for it. Take it." I said, again, for the second time in that day, I had a stupid look on my face, and I went, "Okay, take my money." So, all right, there she is as she sits on the rails. Her shiny drive rods, shiny wheels. She's a beaut. Now, this is, like I said, Proto sound, the original Proto sound. And this engine came with 12 ore cars. Now, with the Proto sound, if you have MTH DCS and you had your system upgraded, a couple of years ago, they offered upgrades for the DCS system. You update. And they will no longer run original Proto sound engines. There's a snowplow. She threw in the snowplow for free, thanks to my buddy Rick, just because I had the same road name. And then she kicked in the caboose with the original sale. Beautiful. Yeah, you just can't ask for better. Now, these plastic ore cars, we're going to get to these ore cars in a second. But yeah, you can't run this engine through the DCS system once it's been upgraded, not the original Proto sound. You have to put a BCR battery in the tender. You got to replace the battery in the tender, and we're going to upgrade it to a Proto Sound 3.0. And that's not bad. We can get like the Muffin Man on that. He can knock that out real quick. I got to get a hold of Muffin Man, and we're going to figure something out. Now, you can reset through the DCS system. You can reset the factory back to its default settings. But since I can't run it on DCS right now, I have no idea how much runtime is on this engine or how many hours. Those are the only two things you cannot reset. So if you ever buy from the train show DCS engine from MTH, you can always look on the remote once you get it programmed in there, so you see the runtime and the hours on there. Now, she said her father kept it pretty good, stored it up real nice. These ore cars, the plastic, you can just lift that right out and you can take the plastic off. I didn't bother to do it because we're not going to do a lot of runtime with this yet. But yeah, the plastic just lifts right out of there. It's like in its nice, clean factory condition. Now, these boxes sat in storage. There's not a lot of wear on the wheels, which doesn't lead me to believe that these cars seen a lot of runtime, minus the dog hair on there. But what I wanted to point out, there was rust. You can see the rust on the bottom of the decoupler plate. I put a little oil on there. These babies they've been sitting in the storage for a while. You see just a little bit of rust on here. We'll put some oil on there, take care of that. But yeah, when you get cars from the train show, you don't know the history on them, or it's kind of vague. The first things what you want to do, you want to put a little tiny drop of oil right there. Put a little oil there, do both sides, all the wheel trucks, and then check the coupler mechanism. All right, these ones kind of lift out. These are old school. They don't push back, they just pull down. But a lot of the couplers were kind of stuck. A little bit of the rust on there. So put a little oil right there. Anywhere parts that moves, put a drop of oil on there. You want to oil the top of this plate. Put a little drop of oil right on there. Metal on metal. And then right inside the coupler, in the mouth of the coupler, put a little drop of oil in right there. And then I just kind of work the action. Do that a good half dozen times. Get everything nice and lubricated. Get that oil to move around in there. If it's still kind of dragging, you might have to put a little drop of oil inside there on that pin. I don't know if you could see that in the camera. There's a little pin in there. Out of the 12 cars, I've only had 2 where the coupler was kind of hung up in the back. I had to put a drop of oil back there in the spring. Right back in here. Drop of oil there. And works pretty good. You got nice triple sprung trucks. Nice. And you just go through and you just kind of oil and work every coupler until it just flows like butter. The moisture kind of got to the outside of these couplers a little bit. Some are a little rough feeling. You just put a little oil on there. Just rub it in. Keep that, you want to protect them, keep that moisture out of there. These are just die cast metal. It doesn't take much for moisture. You start aging that metal faster than it needs to, and eventually it'll just break off. So keep a little oil on there. A little oil on the plate. Oil all your axles. And she'll roll like a champ. Bring them right back to life. We did that on every car. This thing it rolls like nobody's business. Beautiful. One thing we're talking about when we're oiling is using some Liberty oil products, 100 synthetic lubrication, great for trains. Now, I know it probably won't want to focus on there. You're putting just a tiny drip right there. You see that little drip? That's all you need. That little drip right there, that'll do it. Doesn't take much. Because we don't know. You can feel it. Those couplers get hung up. And we got our tender here. Oh, God, this thing's heavy. It's got a nice, real cold load in there. Nice for 2011. You got a big old, she's a big old tender. She's a beast. Got some nice decorative side steps. 20 tons of coal, 25,000 gallons of water. Got a nice light and a bell on the rear of the tender. Some number boards. The hatches do not open. They're just in a fixed position, which is funny because I thought there'd be a plug in the back of this thing to charge up the battery. And you can see there's nothing, no plug or anything on the bottom of the tender, surprisingly. There is a volume knob right there. We got our coupler on there, and that's about it. Little drop of oil. It's right in there. Right in there. Just tiny drop. That's all it takes. You know, they get flowing pretty nice. Rolls nice. Now, being that we can't control it, we have to run this in conventional mode. So there's no smoke, there's no good rail sounds, there's no chuffing. I don't know if it originally had chuffing, but through the conventional mode and probably a near dead battery for how old it is, we got to replace the battery. The rubber drive wheels are falling off it. The original owner's manual is not with it. We'll get more to that in a minute. Let me show you the tender. And here we go. We got the big Yellowstone upside down here. We'll try and focus that in. There's a little wear on the pickup rollers there. Not bad. It's pretty clean, given its age. Now, I was quite surprised when I flipped it over. There was a fair amount of oil and grease already on there. I didn't do nothing to the bottom of this locomotive. Previous owner, he slathered it up pretty good with grease and oil on there. Probably a little bit more than what you would like to see on there. Like this here. You just see that big pit of oil on there. So I was going to take the cover plate off and grease the bearings inside, but I'm going to assume it's pretty well greased. It's going to go off probably to Muffin Man. He's a authorized MTH repair center. So like I said, we're going to put the BCR in it. We're going to get some new rubber on there. This rubber's peeling off. A couple of the other wheels are peeling off. We're just having some, probably needs a little cleaning and check the wick. But again, there's no charging port. Usually on these old engines, there's a charging port, literally with the cord you plug into it and charge the battery. But I've let this sit on the rails. That's always a nice feature too. Double pickup rollers for each set of motors. Makes for a nice smooth transition across the switch track. Everything's pretty well greased. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. But yeah, basically, check it over. Make sure you got some oil. Like I said, the road rubber on there peeling off. This one totally peeled off that side. I mean, the rubber is kind of just probably over oiled, stretched out. Won't stay on there. Both rear sides. All right. So enough of that. Let's get it over and look at it. This is the new. The outer is the used. You can see how much that thing is stretched out. That baby got huge. So, just to show for comparison. Now, on with the new one. All right, real quick. Now, this is probably where I'm going to mess this up. I didn't want to show the whole detail of changing the tire. We got our nut started. This is a 5mm socket on a socket extension. And you just turn that and hand start it. Make sure you don't cross thread it. It gets in there and it wants to stop. You just a little snug, not too hard. And that's it. You know, when you get the tire on there, get your little stick, little screwdriver. You just want to make sure, push that rim, push that tire, and make sure it's seated. Because behind this rim, there's a little flat edge where that tire sits into, a little groove in the wheel, if you will. And you just want to kind of go around, just make sure it's all tucked in there. And once it starts rolling under its own weight, it'll seat itself. But sometimes they'll pop out. If that tire's like kind of up over the lip of the rim of the wheel, it'll just peel back off again, and you'll be back here doing this again. You don't have to take the nut out, but you're just going to take it in a couple of fingers. You put it on the inside there and just pull the band around and get it to seat into that groove. It's not real hard. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm no mechanic. All right. Both wheels have been replaced. These are the old tires. These are now junk. Take these, pitch them in the trash. All right. Let's get her on the rails. All right. Sweet Jesus, I think we got her. I moved it 2 feet, and this rear tire came off the back. So I had to reseat it. Apparently I thought I had it, but I didn't have it seated well enough because it came off again. So there she is, 227. All her splendor and glory. And now, like I said, since the DCS has been upgraded, we can't run this as a DCS engine. It just won't pick it up. Got to run it conventionally. And it's not the prettiest. It's kind of, I ain't gonna lie, it kind of runs like a dog turd. All right, let's power up. It'll get better once we get a new battery in there. Forgive the, I'm gonna show you these cool cargo lights in front. Nice. We got no smoke because we're not running it. Everything is a push button sequence for the smoke, the rear brake. All right, now we're in neutral. Makes that god awful noise. I don't know what the heck it's supposed to be doing. I think it's supposed to be the engine cycling. There's the bell. And there she goes forward. Now watch this when it comes around to the passenger station. She just makes that curve. Almost hooks it in under the awning. Looks like our wheel's staying on. Little firebox glowing there. Looks like the front wheel came off. Now I'm going to have to replace that one. Sounds better when it's in motion. No wheels wouldn't be an issue. Conventional, ain't that fun? No smoke, no chuffing, no real sounds. It's about as good as it's going to get for right now. I'm going to get new road tires. I ended up replacing all 4 road tires. And it's still being a little stinker. So I might have to invest in new road tires on there because they're 14 years old. And it's being a stinker. I knew this was kind of a headache waiting to happen. So I figured, well, let's try it. Let's try and make a video and see if we get it running. Previous owner greased the heck out of it. See if we can't get that bell to work on there one more time. What are you going to do? Catch her out coming out of the room. Ay, 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 ay. Well, what are you going to do? I didn't pay a lot for it. We got it running. It's crippled a little bit, but we got it running. Oh, stay tuned. It's going to be a part 2. This thing's going to run like a brand new top. We're going to get the Proto sound free in there. We're going to get a new battery in the tender. And it's going to be great. We're going to get some crew talk happening. We're going to get some smoke and some chuffing. We're going to get some fresh rubber on those wheels. They're 14 years old. And they're just being a pain in the tuchus. That's right. That's a word. Pain in the tuchus. All right. All right, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I had something better for you. But until next time, I'm Mr. Steve. And remember, happy rails. Laying on there. Laying on. All right.